Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 149. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. And this week, we're going to take a look at the Roland S-1. We've both had a chance to get our hands on one and work with it a little bit. So we're going to just talk kind of our first impressions. And Curtis has had it a bit longer, so he can kind of give a more formal review. I've had it. I was able to borrow one after NAMM, so I've had it for, 2 weeks now, and I think I've gotten to use it like 3 or 4 times, mainly for building a sound and sampling. So we're going to talk kind of our different approaches to it and all that. If you've got an S1, let us know in the chat, and we'll discuss kind of that. If there's something you want to know about the S1, throw it in the chat, and we'll discuss it as well. I want to say hello to all of our subscribers and members, patron members in the chat. We've got Smiling Errors. What's going on? Mike, one of our patrons, is having a Cloudwater IPA 20th, I think. Then he wrote 10th anniversary edition. So one of those, 20th or 10th anniversary, either way. But yeah, what's going on, everybody? Cresshead's also in the chat. With that, let's move into our first topic. But my name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Curtis. What's going on?
Mate, yeah, it's cool. Again, it's like mini festival season. So a lot of engineering, lots of choirs coming down. I think I mentioned this last week. We had 12. No, sorry. We had 9 schools come in from all over Europe, and just a bunch of singers doing choir and choral work. It was great in that sense. Like, you know, if you're sitting there with a mixer and you're dialing in reverb in real time and catching the harmonics of a choral group of people, it's a lot of fun. It's a relatively new thing for me, and so to play with it, because the voice is such a delicate thing, right? So like, just to play with just the voice, and you get every warble, and you get every choke, and you get every kind of thing. It's it's wonderful. It's magical in that sense.
Nice. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was good. It's all been outside. It's all been in the real world. Very little time for all this, which has been, I think it's been a nice break. I think in the beginning of the year, very much with January and stuff like that, it's all been very much about in here, in the hardware, doing stuff. So it's nice just to, in the name of ebbs and flows, take a little while back. You know what I mean?
Definitely. It's always good to kind of do something a little bit different.
Exactly. How about yourself?
I've just been on full dad duty, so not much time. The only thing I've gotten to do is play the drum set a little bit, sample it into the P6, and chop it up. That's the only way I can be a good drummer, is take chops and put it. But it is starting to click more. I've got like more independence between the different arms and like the feet and stuff. So it's slowly starting to come together. But I really like playing drums. It's a lot of fun. And like all the ghost notes and stuff, actually doing it now instead of like, oh, I'm going to set this pad to a ghost snare, you know, by lowering the volume. Now it's like you can actually control the volume and all that. There's something really fun about it, and it's really fun to do, just like to just record at some drum loop and then make something, you know, on a sampler with like melodic sounds, and be like, oh, how can I chop this drum loop to fit around this? You get some really cool, weird hi-hat interactions if you do it in a different BPM than what you sampled into or something. So I like doing that, and I've always liked doing that with drums, but it's like doing it with your own sample is really coul.
So do you feel like this is kind of a new era, so to speak, of drum tech for you? Once you get kind of like into your groove, to pardon the pun, do you think this is the new way forward for you?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. It all depends how much time I can get to actually do these things. But I do really like that. The only thing is like the drum sounds on this. This is a cheap like Donner drum set. They're not that amazing, and you can't control the volume of each. So like if I'm recording in a loop, typically the hi-hat's the loudest thing, which anybody that knows my production, I don't like loud hi-hats. So it bugs me. And if it's a loop, there's not much you can do besides going in and changing maybe the step that hi-hat hits at or whatever. And no, Smiling Errors, I'm not drumming over drum samples. I'm drumming and chopping that sample and then playing it via the pads. Hopefully that makes more sense. But yeah, it's something I want to explore more and more and just keep doing, because it's interesting. I do like layering drum sounds though. So getting those as the bass and then adding more on top, like little percussion sounds and things like that. That's a good way to do it too.
Are you finding that it's creating differences in how you see drums at all?
It is different. I notice like I'm listening to the drums more intently now. Like I've always watched YouTube tutorials and stuff of drums because I'm trying to incorporate that into playing sample pads of drums, but actually doing it for some reason, just I guess I'm more of a physical learner, and so like that just kind of clicks more now that I kind of have that in my mind, like, oh, that would be this. It's like I'm more attuned to like what I'm listening to, so it's just an interesting kind of difference.
I get that. I see what you're saying. It's like that kind of different approach to something that's already familiar gives a new perspective in that regard.
Yeah, and it's interesting coming at it still with the melodic ideas in mind, because I'm trying to base the drums like wrap around the way I'm playing parts, right? You know, so it's like I'm not making the drums first. I'll make a loop first, but that's not what the intent to use that as the sample. So then I make a sound, you know, with the melodic stuff, and then I take those and build it. So it's a fun little interaction.
Okay, so for a while now, you've been looking to change your structures from kind of the quintessential kind of electronic to something more, should we say, like classic? Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I always like I kind of like bridging the gap, right? Take loops that are organic instruments or like live performances, and then use electronic hardware like samplers and stuff to then mangle it and chop it up into something new. So it is kind of like the next step, because now I can have my own drum sounds rather than always going like, oh, let's go to find this sample or this loop or this one shot or something. So yeah,
it sounds yeah, we need to find you some more time to do that, I suppose, so you can.
Yeah, and I want to test out running the drum set as MIDI and controlling like samples from Logic or something, because I think the sounds might be a little better, because I'm not the biggest fan of the built-in sounds on that. But I guess it has its own certain charm, right? You know, lo-fi charm.
I mean, do you know Rome's at all?
No.
There's two of them. They're an electronic rock duo. They make some pretty cool stuff. It's like posts. I suppose you could kind of call it like posts. It's like a cross between emo and metalcore, right?
Oh,
with electronica flown in. It's really cool.
Huh.
And very introspective, very self-deprecating. But what he does is he hooks up his drum kit to a Moog synthesizer. And so each hit of the drum is a different note on the Moog. And so he creates melodic parts playing the drums.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's
really cool. Yeah,
cool as hell. You should check it out.
Okay.
I'll send it to you after this. I'll send it to you after the show. It's a lot of fun. It's very ingenious, and they go for a very gnarly sound. They're very gnarly sound, and this very much leans into that gnarliness, because it's obviously, like you're coming from a melodic point and a melodic standpoint, right?
Yeah.
But because it's built on timing or essentially sequenced on a drum kit, it can jump all over the place, and the MIDI gets a bit screwed up, and the notes get janky and stuff. I just
Googled them. I'm gonna check this out after. I'm gonna leave this tab open because that sounds really interesting, and that's something I would want to try. Like I had that thought. Oh, that'd be cool. Survey Channel says check out Giant Claw as well. And also, what's up, Survey Channel? Hope you're doing well. Congrats on the new release too. What was it? Giants? I'm on a different tab. Giant Claw. I'm gonna Google that one too.
That's the one.
Giant Claw. Okay.
That's something I need to do. I'll make a note of that as well. Thanks for that survey.
Anybody else has recommendations? Go ahead and throw it in the chat. Also want to say, Cresshead says, I have a Roland TD30 KV drum kit and also a Yamaha FGDP50 finger drum kit. Interesting. Okay. I want to look up this finger drum kit. Is that like just a MIDI thing or something? Also, hello to some of our other patrons. FCC is in the chat. What's going on? And ASF Stripe, what is up? Yeah.
A lot of people in the chat. A lot of people tuning in. I know that Frequency Control Center has an S-1 in his own right, so I'm sure he's got a commentary too. We are going through that today, and Doorwarper has made an entrance in the green room, as is Lars, actually.
Lars is driving with his road rage. I got to adjust the camera. Now, do you have your S1 set up?
I have it here. When I say set up, it's on, but I haven't got it set up for anything in here.
Okay.
So we'll lead with what you got. I think it's a nice idea, but we'll not go through some of the sound design techniques. We want to talk about what we appreciate about it, where its limitations are living. I've used it. You've used it for sampling, and you've used it for sound design and stuff going in there. As ever with us, with the yin and yang notion of how we produce, I've been sending MIDI to it and using the parameters in there as they come. So I think we've got a lot to talk about, but I think we should start with the sound design. I think we should start with the basics of kind of inputting what you appreciate from it.
Yeah. Now I'll start. You can probably notice up here, you look right there, I have a Behringer MS1. I'm a huge fan of the SH-101 sound. So I was always intrigued at the SH-01, which was Roland's boutique, the slightly bigger version of this. And then they released this, which I have the P6 and I love it. These compacts are really interesting. And at NAMM, I got to check out quite a few of them. And then I was able to borrow an S1. And I've just been doing a ton of sound design. And ASF Stripe says, yeah, I love that SH-101 sound too. Now, what really interested me about the S1 is the fact that, and I think the SH-01, that previous iteration of this, is the fact that it's 4-voice polyphony, which the MS1 and the original SH-101 are monophonic. So the thought and the idea of having polyphony on the SH-101 sound was really interesting to me. So let me throw this back on. I'm going to see. Yeah, we're getting sound. Okay, so I made this quick little. We can do resonance. We get that like squelchy SH-101 sound.
Very quintessential.
Now, what I think is really cool is you have this step or key transpose. So like I made this in C, but then you can adjust what key it actually goes into. You have to hold shift, I think. Yeah. So I moved it up. What I originally programmed was this, which is in C. But you can hit that key transpose because let's face it, this keyboard is not the most fun for performing, especially if you're doing other keys. You can disagree. That's fine by me. But it's very small. And if you want to do things in like, C sharp or F sharp or anything like that, it's kind of weird. So if you're programming, it's pretty easy to quickly just throw it there and then just transpose it up and down there. What were you going to say there, Curtis?
No, I was saying I agree with you. It's a minefield. If you want to do anything that's not in C, yes, it is a minefield. Right.
Also, I just want to mention too that I may hit shift quite frequently when I intend to hit play because on the P6 they're flipped, or at least they're so play is here. I don't know if it's shift that's here. I forget, but some of the buttons are a little different. Like the workflow is quite similar, and there's a lot of similarities, but certain things are like moved around, obviously to accommodate this being a synth and that being a sampler. So there are differences to that. So there's that. So let's talk a little bit about sound design. I have this little loop. We have multiple waveforms for the oscillator. I can't remember when it comes to this, if it's multiple oscillators or one oscillator with the different waveforms. I forget. So I remember someone corrected me once on the MS1. So don't hold me to that. But so we have a square wave, saw, noise, and then we've got our sub oscillator. Hear that lower octave. And then we can do glide, portamento. We hold shift. I'm trying not to lean too far forwards because my hat's gonna get in the way. So, but we can turn on portamento, turn it off, and we can also turn on and off polyphony, which I totally forget where that is. I think it's right here, actually.
There you go.
And we have a chord, mono. I'm totally blanking on the word, but unison. We also have that, which is always nice. But I set it to poly, even though I'm doing single chords, that lets it ring out rather than every note on the step sequencer kind of choking it. So I don't want that. So if you do the poly, it just keeps ringing out depending on how we've set our envelope. We've also got LFO on the pitch, which I have a little bit. I am going for that kind of Boards of Canada warbly sound. Not that much, but a little bit. You can sync the LFO. I believe I have it not synced. You can also set the LFO to the filter.
That's nice, yeah. It's big fun.
And then what I also think is really cool, we've got some built-in reverb, which is pretty nice. And delay.
Very nice.
Sorry, I'm getting lost in the sound.
Yeah,
We're gonna up the resonance. We can change the envelope.
It's a big moment for you as well. Big dad mode, getting time to sit.
I also can't see the knobs because I'm like here and this is down, so it's like it's a very weird position to see. But yeah, so this is just making a quick sound. We can tone down that LFO. And then yeah, so what I just like I said, we have polyphony. Which I think is awesome. Sorry, my computer just like mega brightened. And yeah, FCC, I do agree. It is very easy to get lost in this box. It's a lot of fun. It's the same doing this combo. I wish I could have set them up together, but I didn't have time. Is awesome because what I do is I'll just like take a little loop, like I'll sample in, you know, like a little chord progression. I also have latency because it's going in. I don't know why my screen got so overexposed right now. But I'll just do like a little loop and then sample that in and then chop it on the P6. And now I've got like just like I was saying with the drums at the start, I've got this interesting kind of idea that I can chop up and do some different things to. There's also some really cool things. Let me read what Mike says. One massive win of these boxes over Boutique is audio and MIDI over USB. Yes, you'll notice if we zoom in. Yep, just one cable, just the USB. So one thing that I thought was cool, and they showed me this at NAMM, the Roland rep. If you MIDI link these, the volume knobs are all basically now mutes per instrument. So like if you want to, sorry, that overexposure is driving me crazy. So hopefully that helped. If you have these MIDI synced and you're playing, let's say the T8, which is the 808, and that's doing the drums, and then you have a arpeggio on here doing that, you could do this and the drums would keep playing even if this is the end of the signal chain. It's like independent mutes rather than volume in total for what's coming in and out of it. It was really trippy, but I thought that was just a cool little thing. So like if you have multiple compacts and you're doing a live performance, you have little mutes and you can do fade ins, fade outs and stuff like that. That I could see some really cool live performance potential in that aspect, doing like having that T8 hold down beats and then you can bring them in and out and change the tracks, you know, change the patterns you're doing on the other things and do like full songs. Could be really interesting. Let me go through a couple other bits of chat. Where are we? Cresset says, I love S-1, really nice. I agree. Yeah, I do want to do maybe on my YouTube channel at some point when I have some time, or here, I want to do a comparison between the MS1 and the S1. Now, we don't have polyphony on the MS1, and I have the Mark 1. I think they're called Mark 1 and Mark 2. I don't have the newer version, but I think it would be cool to compare the sounds. One thing I don't think this one has that one does have, and if anybody knows, I might be wrong here, but there's like an FM modulation source on that, which can get some really cool, grittier, darker sounds and stuff like that. When I do like bass lines, I'll use that, automate that or something to get some cool stuff. Where else are we in the chat? Sleeping State says, weird that is that any modern drum machine is monophonic? I don't know many drum machines that would be monophonic. We're talking synthesizer, and the SH-101 is old. The SH-101 came out quite a while ago. But yeah, let's see. Frequency Control Center says, not many SH-101 clones that you can save presets on either, just the Boutique, I think. Yeah, that's another really cool thing. You can save per pattern the presets you design, which I think is a really nice feature. Sleeping State says, make angry noises. I don't do a lot of angry noises, so maybe that's something Curtis can do when he sets his up to show it in a future episode or something. What else do we have? Cresset says, No, you can also use it as an external 2-octave mini keyboard to connect to other gear like a Seek Track or KO2. That's cool. What else do we have? Curtis is sitting there like a ghost in the light, unfazed by the overexposure. Yeah, there we go. Crescent says, I have both MS1 editions. It's Behringer specific. SH101 never had the FM things. Yeah, I know that's Behringer specific. I just meant I don't think that the SH or S1 has anything like that. So that is one thing that I do like on that, because you can get a little, if we're talking sound design, you get a lot more kind of potential for things in that way. All right, I've been droning on. Curtis, say something. Anything, please.
It's interesting that you essentially say drone on, because one thing that, while it is a fantastic sequencer and it's a whole 64-step sequencer going on there, which is very powerful for the size of it is. If you head over to the hold, if we bring up and you see hold, you can create some fantastic drones with it as well, with the 4-voice polyphony.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me pop that back on, and we'll do. What do you just press it and hold it, right? Let's do.
Yes. If you just hit hold and then hit 4 notes, you can create a lovely, beautiful.
There we go.
Drone coming through like that, and those drones can get very deep, especially when you bring in the sub oscillator in there as well. And then you are just playing with the parameters. And then when you start to add that lovely reverb, it can get very dense and it can get very filling. Something I find on these small boxes usually is that they're quite thin in sound, but the S1 where it's coming through, it just plays some beautiful, beautiful things. Then if you go to that,
oh, you drowned out a little bit, I think, on my sound. What did you say?
Once you start playing with those NFOs,
yeah,
get gnarly. Yeah, a bit gnarly as well. Yeah, it's really good. It's obviously the tweak synth is built there for you to. It's in the name. You know, you set up a sequence or you set up a drone, and then you can just play with the parameters and really get some lovely things that are on and off the fly. The square oscillator and the sawtooth oscillator are one thing as well. I'd like to talk about the noise oscillator a little bit. First, if you
I was gonna say, Curtis, you're getting a little phased out. It looks like I thought I was hearing it. It looks like Sleeping State agrees. So let me switch to this real quick. Hold on. Say something.
There we go.
Yeah, so you are getting phased out. That's crazy. You're phasing it at E major 7.
It's beautiful. I mean, this is a music podcast, and people definitely want to hear more of the music than they do of me. But it is interesting that the droning capabilities on this one make really good, especially if you're making a lot of ambient stuff and the bedrock. Have you done much with the what's it called? The shift and where am I looking? Shift and draw. Have you done anything with that at all?
Shift and draw, is that an automation thing?
So the shift and draw is where you can take one of the oscillators, either the square oscillator or the sawtooth operator, and you can start bending the waveform that comes in. So on the face of the box itself, you've got
I see it. Shift draw right here, right? Oscillator draw.
That's the one.
Yeah. We press it, and then what do we do?
Then press number 2.
Oh, so just right here.
Okay. That's it. Press it one more time.
It's just saying off though.
Yeah.
It's not giving me another 2. Do I then change it to something? Slope, step?
Slope step. Slope is leave the one before slope step.
Step. I have off, step, and slope.
So here it should say form. So when you press shift and draw,
all right, go shift draw.
SW. But if you on the turn dial, if you go to the form, as you can see here, you should see this. See the form.
I actually don't have that. I just have step and slope.
You just have step.
You want me? Don't hit SW. Hit form. Yeah, I got it now. Yeah.
That's it. Then you go along here, and then that. If you hold down on that, and then twist the oscillator that you're playing with, you can actually meld and bend and twist the classic square or the classic sawtooth
Ooh.
sound as it comes. You can get some really interesting harmonics in there as well. It's a great way of playing around. And suddenly, what could be perceived as the limitations of a singular square and a sawtooth wave become infinitely different as you start to bend and meld different sounds.
Okay.
It's good fun. Really good fun.
Oh, you're phasing out again, but hold on. I want to test this. Interesting. Okay. That's cool.
It is. It adds another layer.
The other thing too, just before we move on from there, one other really cool thing about this is you can do step parameter, like you can automate changes to delays, to the LFO, oscillator movements, filter movements. So like if I go one of the stock, let me get out of this thing first. Oh, I got to get out of that. How do I get out of this guy now? Oh, here? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. There we go. So if I go back to, I'm going to not save the changes we made to this pattern, but if I go to one of the stock ones, like this first one that they've got, hear how it's making changes to the filter, but I could also do. Hear how the reverb is now automated? Yeah, so that's another thing that I think is really cool. You can do per step changes and things like that and automate or motion record, you know, like as a pattern is changing or as a pattern is going, you can actually make sounds change, do like a filter sweep, do things like that, which I think is a lot of fun and really cool for sound design and for chopping things later, because you can get all those kind of micro changes on a pattern and be like, oh, I want this little chop and I want that chop.
Completely. And it's extensive, and I think most things can be mapped and most things can be automated in that sense. But as Frequency Control Center says quite readily, when you start automating filters and effects, you can hit the memory limit quite quickly, which is a fair point. I suppose the extent to which is how much do you need in that sense?
Yeah, how much do you need? And then it is a $200 synth, right? The P6 is 220. I think this is 220 as well.
It is, and I love it in that sense. It's nice to build a patch, right, and automate a few things, and then delete, maybe record that, burn that into the sampler or something like that. Have that going, looping, and then build another one and do a load more automation on something else, and then put them in together. That is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
in working with that limitation, which is an interesting thing. It's quite nice. If you press Shift and then both 1 and 2, have you done that before?
Nope.
All right. Sync. So if you press, and then if you on the turn wheel move it across while holding them down, and then shift across.
Oh, is that pan? Or wait, it keeps changing.
So this is a shortcut to turn the noise oscillator into a riser and down sweep, which is a lot of fun. If you're looking, Smiling Arrows kind of talks into a doorless setup, and this is where that really comes into its own, because you can substitute out the noise oscillator. You can still have your sequence running, but you can choose to then use your oscillator as a manual rise and fall. So, and that when you saw pan, it's probably because there's 3 settings. There's syncing it to the tempo. There's syncing it to panning. So if you are in stereo, it will go left and right. And there's the one more parameter that I can't quite remember. But if you have the noise oscillator all the way down and then turn it up to 50%, that will be your riser coming up. And then anything from 50%.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay. And you can reverse that as well. Ooh, so the riser is be choppy or LFO'd or whatever, and the down sweep is just a smooth glide to nothing. But then if you reverse that, you've got a smooth up gradient, and then you've got a choppy kind of down sweep, so which leads into that live, because that's what these are for, right? These are built for live kind of doorless, for want of a better phrase, creations.
I think they can be.
They can.
I do want to mention this comment from Smiling Arrows, because I don't think that's the right thought for any sort of gear, in that what is this replacing in our kit? I get it for DAWless if you want to reduce the tonnage of your setup, but is it upgrading our standard setup? I mean, it's a synth. It's a really decent sounding SH-101 in a tiny box that you can take anywhere. For me, it's the portability that draws me to it, because I already have a decent sounding SH-101 clone, but we get a portability and a 4-voice polyphony with the SH-101 sound. So I'm not intending it as replacing anything in my gear. That's not what I'm looking at it for. It's like, this is something that's useful for things I want to do and for sampling. It can replace some gear if you're looking for a small synth that you can send MIDI to that does 4-voice polyphony. That sounds pretty good, or a close approximation to the SH-101. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I understand that thought process. I'm just saying that I don't know if that's not typically the way, at least, that I approach when I'm getting new gear. It's not what am I replacing? It's what can I use this for? What does this inspire me to do?
I hear that. And I think, just to add to that, I think that right now we've only looked at the synth as a standalone, but as Mike brought up at the beginning of the show, the interconnectability really is when this makes it fine, right? So you've got MIDI in and MIDI out on the backs, right? You've got MIDI in and MIDI out on the backs.
Hold on, let me zoom in on you.
So you've got MIDI in and MIDI out on the back. Also, you've got your MIDI USB-C. What you can do, and what I do a lot and have been exploring around with a lot, is sending MIDI to it. Either at the moment I'm sending it MIDI into it from Ableton, but when I first got it, setting up the Korg monologue, which by the way is back on the tray. It was over here and substituted out, and I just couldn't leave it alone, so it's back on the shelf. Sorry, it's back on the play tray.
You have such a weird love-hate relationship with that synth,
right? I do. Totally. I do. I hate it, but I love it. The real estate is massive, but it's got so much durability and so much flexibility. That's a whole nother thing. To stay on topic for now, using, for example, something as simple as a MIDI keyboard would be great. You can then suddenly, you are using the sounds of the S1, sorry, but you have a fully fledged keyboard, right? Not only does that kind of counteract the limitations of this tiny keyboard that we have seen before, but also, I have just lost my train of thought. Also, as a sense of that, what you are doing there is, it's not just the synthesizer in its own right. It's not replacing anything. What you're actually doing is just having another outlet. Many synthesizers, so the Microfreak, the Mini Freak, the Ultra Version Novation, for example. Most synthesizers, most hardware synthesizers also have a MIDI out. And even if you're not using a computer, suddenly you've got dual connectability within your DAWless setup, for want of a better phrase, which allows you to go even deeper into your thing. Suddenly you've got, say, a monologue, but now instead of it just being a single mono synth, now you've got a 4-voice polysynth, and you're just sending the audio out from there.
Yeah, totally. It makes a lot of sense to MIDI sync, and then also you have the sync. Oh, I just gotta put this back on, but you have the Roland type sync where you can sync the different compacts and get some really cool things there. So for live performance, I want to try doing, because I mean the P6 has its limitations for live performance, but I think having a synth on top that you could send MIDI to or perform on top to or have patterns, there could be something there. I will also say, even though these keys are kind of annoying, like I've done some live streams where I've made songs on the SP and then use this to play live on top of it. And I really like that. And that's cool. The other thing I want to try, since we have 4-voice polyphony and the Digitact has 8, well, my OG Digitact has 8 4-voice polyphony MIDI tracks. I want to at least try that setup as well, because you can just program on that. And like you said, just putting even a MIDI keyboard really lets you get that easier performance thing. And I do have to mention, Curtis, you've triggered the Ableton rage of Mike, which I knew it would come, because he anytime the S1 is mentioned, he makes note to say that I use drift instead of the S1. But yes, he says, Curtis, you send MIDI out of Ableton to the S1? Why no love for drift? It's every bit as good. I sold my S1 because of drift. Yep, doesn't surprise me. I will say, though, I mean, you could obviously program drift or any synth to the MIDI of like a MIDI hardware or something, but there's something for me that's fun about a dedicated box that you can, change the knobs on and alter. And I don't know, there's just something about that for me that I like. But yeah,
I'm in complete agreement with you in that regard. For the record, Mike, in my current template, I do also have an instance of drift, and
there you
it's
go.
connected in, and I do appreciate it. I do enjoy it. Drift is a very powerful machine. I am currently in the midst of trying to create a live psytrance set, and psytrance at the moment in its current incarnation is very in the box. It's all MIDI, it's all Serum, and it's all perfectly sound designed. And I'm trying to create a situation where you can have the love of psytrance without necessarily being in the box, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm always hybrid. So drift is in there as well. As my friend Jack would say, why not both?
Yeah, and I agree. And the other thing I would mention too is what's nice about having a small, like why I love the P6 as a sampler is that I can connect it to the DAW and control it with that, do things like that. But then I can go in the house with headphones and just have that. And I'm sure Mike could say, "Oh, well, Move can do that or whatever." But it's like a dedicated piece of hardware that you can just do whatever, wherever with. But it's not for everyone. Hardware doesn't have to be for everyone. And this isn't a hardware versus software versus DAW, DAWless, whatever. Like you say, and your friend whose name I'm blanking, but yeah, why not both? So yeah. And of course, Mike, I knew that's why I spoke for him. He says, yes, Move can do that. Yeah. I love his dedication to Ableton.
I do.
And any product they happen to sell.
I want to take Mike's love and passion and dedication for Ableton and just plop it into the minds of my kids at school. I'd love that.
I really want to try Move. That being said,
yeah.
like Move seems really interesting. Push as well. But Move seems pretty cool for what it can do and stuff. It's something I would want to try at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that one. I'm trying to get some moves for the kids at school again. It's a great little box from what I can see. I'd love to give it a try.
So yeah, you got Push. That's the Mac Daddy. Yeah, like just go with Push for now. That's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm in no rush.
All right. Is there anything else? We're getting on in time, and I want to get Lars in and talk our last topic. But is there anything else on the S1 you want to discuss? And chat, is there anything you want to discuss regarding the S1 at all before we move on?
I wanted to just mention, in the name of sending MIDI into it, one thing that is you can get some jitter sometimes, and I don't know if that's my setup or if this is a common thing. There can be some jittering and there can be some issues that come in when MIDI is not quite programmed correctly. This is more of a PSA. If anyone watching this or watching back or is on Spotify, hello, hi. If you've got any ways in which you've improved your workflow so that you don't get any MIDI jitter, it'd be really cool to see how you got past that, because for the life of me, after using this thing, I've had it for about 2.5 months now, still getting MIDI jitter, and I could do with understanding why and how I can counteract that.
Is this MIDI from the computer?
Both. So
okay.
MIDI.
So even with hardware, you're getting this jitter.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it's at. Like if I'm sequencing of an external sequencer, still getting that jitter coming through. So and I'm wondering,
have you looked it up on Google at all or anything? If that's like a common problem?
I have. I've Googled it, and it's one of those where there's Reddit posts that go nowhere. So that's fine.
But it is a common report that it happens.
From what I can see, yeah. But I can't tell if it's again. So I can't tell. This is all coming within the context of me doing a massive overhaul of my setup. So I don't know if it's something that I'm doing, because I could be the drama. So I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I spent an hour with them MIDI synced at NAMM. I didn't notice anything, but it's very noisy on the NAMM floor, so I can't attest to whether it does or doesn't. And this was all compacts connected together, so I don't know. I wonder if there's any MIDI settings in there that you can adjust or anything, or like latencies or things like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
I wonder.
Maybe I'll have to think. Thomas has just joined us though.
Nice. What's up, Thomas? How are you?
He's been live streaming more recently. It's a lot of fun to see that ambient modular set kind of work its magic.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
All right, with that, let's move on and go to our community corner. But if you have any questions about the S1, throw them in the comments after the video is done or on Spotify, and we'll answer them, and maybe we'll revisit it at some point. So yeah, but that's the S1. I like it. I need to spend some more time with it, but I think it's a really cool synth. I think it does the SH-101 sound pretty well, especially like, I mean, I've never used the real SH-101. I listen to a lot of Boards of Canada, but and they use it all the time. But the MS1 is awesome, and I really want to compare both sounds properly, but I think they're both pretty good and decent approximations. But I really like the sound of and the 4-voice polyphony of the S1.
I get you. I'm with you on that one. So yeah, it's a great little synth. I think it was said at the beginning of the show, punched well above its weight in terms of what you get, and it's bang for its buck. Roland ARIA in general, I think, some more than others. I think the second generation is a lot nicer than the first, but they're powerful little boxes. So definitely worth, if you're in the business of $200 little boxes, this is definitely one to pick up.
Yeah, this and the P6 I think is a pretty awesome combo. I just did a video where I flipped S1 sounds and then made the track on the P6 and then played live on top of it with the S1. It's a really cool little combo. Something like you can take out and go places and like make beats with and stuff. I don't know. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. And we say all this, and you know, we're simping over it right now. And Roland haven't contacted us. They haven't told us to say anything. You know, they don't do that. We don't do that right now. We're saying this because we believe it, and the only reason that we're saying it on air is because of our patrons. And we really thank you for the support that you give us day in, day out. There is Lars sitting there; he's been waiting very patiently. He will come.
Well, he was driving. I didn't want to bring that road rage into the video or the stream.
But yeah, thank you ever so much for all your support, your continued support going on now. We're at our next week will be our 150th episode, which is insane if you think about it. And we can keep doing this with our increasing overheads thanks to you. If you are watching the show and you like what you see and you want to you want to support the show, head across to patreon.com/audionautic, and that would be a great way to do that. Pledge just start at $2, where you can get straight in with our Starstream Hangout, which happens once a month, which this month is happening on the 16th of February. It's this Sunday. It's this Sunday as well, which is really fun. So yeah, that's where we really get onto the nitty gritty. We're not on air, and it's just a recording. It's just people hanging out essentially, and it's where we can really get in and help each other out, see where everyone's up to in their journeys. People who can't normally tune into the show because of time constraints, come on and show us their software and show us what they're up to and where they're going, etc. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, but obviously just sitting down, coming in each week, and hearing where we're at and seeing where you're at is more than enough. So yeah, yeah. Anything to say on that, Sunwarper?
No, just massive love to the patrons, and thanks for helping us keep the lights on, so to speak, for Audionautic, and doing things like more gear coverage, all that type of stuff. That's only because of our patrons. So if you do want to help support, patreon.com/audionautic. But with that, one of the perks at the $5 tier and up is you can come on the show. And Lars has patiently been waiting. He might be texting right now, but if he can hear and if he's good to go, give a little thumbs up. Yeah, I was going to say, Lars, that if we were doing a Spotify episode, the car road rage might have been best, might have been fitting.
How dare you utter the name that we shall not speak?
Hey, we've said it twice already about our podcast being on there. So, yeah. There you go. Anyway, what's up, though? How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Not bad. Just busy. Everybody's busy, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, that's because everything's a little insane, but it's okay. It's all right.
Well, I'll say the thing I'm looking forward to, what's keeping me going, is those cassettes you made for me are coming. They're on the way. So I'm just like, I got to make it to Thursday so I can open that up and see what they look like.
Oh yeah. I mean, on that note, yeah, physical media. That's what we all need to do. There's something so nice about just not having to be under the thumb of some psychopath tech billionaire, like Mr. Eck himself.
There you go.
The literal Antichrist.
Oh, geez. I knew it was good to mention Spotify when you came on. But no, I think something we need to talk about soon, because I saw like Crescent, who hopped in the Discord, was talking they're planning to do some physicals and stuff. A lot's changed with physicals since the last video we made talking about, on-demand physicals and stuff like that. So I think we need to cover that soon. That's not what we're doing today, but
okay.
But no. I wanted to mention it. I'm saying we'll do a round robin on that, or maybe a full episode. I think this is really important. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think something I've been coming to more and more as Spotify makes continued changes and more ways to screw us over as artists and independent artists is physical media. And then not only that, but you see films and things that aren't available on any streaming service, things like that. It's like without physical media, it just like ceases to exist, right? And I think there's something special about having it, that it's yours. And so, maybe it's an old-fashioned thought, but I think at least offering it is an interesting spot to be in right now if you can justify the cost. And like what we did with the cassettes, 10 cassettes for under $100 is not bad at all. So there's something to this. Will cassettes sell? I still have to see that. That's my test. But I know you've had some luck with cassettes, so we're gonna give it a shot at Audionautic. But yeah, I think physicals is something we should talk about more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And real quick. Oh, go ahead, Lars. Sorry, I was gonna just mention the chat. Go ahead.
It's even like physicals are making like something of a comeback, even with people who like grew up in the streaming era. There's something just really nice about being able to like hold it in your hand and like knowing that the only way it's going to disappear is if you throw it away.
It's the same thing as hardware, right? That's what I was trying to say earlier, but you said it much more eloquently.
I mean, yeah, I have my
mic
Rexer set up back there. I got my Casio keyboard.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Okay, couple chats and then we'll move to a quick round robin. Stillhead says, amazing, 150th episode. That's massive. Yeah, thanks. Well, that's because of you, Thomas, and all of our patrons who help us keep going. So massive thanks. Sleeping State says, Lars is bringing his couch rage. Yeah, as you saw, the second I mentioned Spotify, it was brought forth, let's say. Isomatic says, thanks. No worries. Thanks for joining. Smiling Ears also says, your cassettes are... What's that, Lars?
Oh, I was saying it escalated very quickly as well.
Yeah, I know how to get you to go full Lars mode. just say, hey, Spotify, and then
rage, instant rage.
Yeah, instant rage. Yeah, Smiling says your cassettes are out. No, they're going to release the day of release, which is February 18th. I'm going to make some posts about them once they come, which should be, I think, tomorrow, right? Lars, Thursday, I think, is the
it'll be. Can we do a little sneak peek? Can we do a
little do you have? Yeah, let's check it out. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Hold on, let me full screen. Oh, that looks sick.
That's nice.
That looks sick.
Well.
Nice. Yeah, that looks great.
100% analog quality there.
DIY completely. Like Lars sourced all those cassette machines or whatever from like Goodwills or something, and you built them back up.
Yeah, right now I have 3 that I have like perfectly calibrated, and I literally have 2 or 3 more in my closet that I still need to calibrate. And I think I showed it on social media at some point, but
don't break your back, man. That looked heavy.
Oh, how dare you call me old, bro?
I didn't say that.
So my next plan is 8 tracks.
Nice.
Yes.
Just
I found
old school media is your thing. What about Laserdisc, man, or something like that?
Bro, if I could find a Laserdisc like replicator, you would be getting Laserdiscs.
There we go.
I think the only other format that I am yet to try and move into is a mini disc, which I'm still looking for a good mini disc recorder and player, And if I can find that, then that'll happen too.
All bets are off. Yeah. All right. That's cool, man. Well, this is exciting. I'm really stoked to check out the cassettes. They look really good just from that quick sneak peek that you did. But moving on from there, let's cover our last topic. It kind of has to do with releases. I mean, it has to do with releases. Kind of has to do with what we're discussing, but it's not physicals. It's just releases in total. But real quick, Mike says, and I think this is it. Don't get Lars started because this is probably after the 8-track. This will be his next one. etching into stone tablets. Yeah, you could do some musical, sheet music in stone tablets or something, or tabs, guitar tabs.
Yeah, tablet.
Yeah, guitar
yeah.
tab, stone guitar tablets. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect.
Guitar tab, MIDI files, nothing but
then-
Yeah, MIDI.
everything in MIDI.
We've always wondered
People
where
were selling
Moses
their
got
albums
them
on USB for a while. I think they still do. That one I never
yeah.
got. It's interesting, but it just I don't know.
I mean, we're at the point now where it's like MP3 downloads feel like a thing of the past. Remember MP3 downloads? You could buy your MP3s from the iTunes store and stuff. Yeah.
And then getting
Remember that?
320 instead of 156 or whatever was like, I can hear so much more.
Wow, listen to
And
that
then
great
lossless.
quality.
Yeah. Anyways, Curtis, we've derailed enough. Go ahead and bring us back on point. What are we discussing for the round robin? We'll do a quick one because we got about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, about that. So this stems from Coraline in our Discord, which I put the link in the description. It's a fresh link this week, so it should get you to the thing directly. And yeah, I put it in the chat as well. So this kind of stemmed. I saw Coraline's message when I got into the Discord after work today about this notion of having multiple releases and what we do with them. And there was this notion about, okay, so if you've got multiple releases potentially coming out in different places for different audiences, or maybe on different labels, do you try your best to stagger them and have them coming out at different times, or is it more or less okay these days to potentially have two things coming out in two different places at once? And we've always gone with the notion of staggering, always having something staggering, right? And I just wanted to bring it to the table, mainly to drum up some kind of conversation, maybe to help Coraline come through, but also just, is it as clear cut these days? If we're not necessarily promoting all platforms, and if we have come to a space where we are essentially in control of our promotional campaigns, and when we put things on social media and stuff, is it we no longer have to worry about necessarily the release day and making sure it's fresh and new? So is it okay? So I wanted to bring it to the table, see what you guys think.
Thomas ended it. There are no
okay. All right, guys.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Cue the Trans-Pacific track. I mean, that's a good point. I would say it depends on, if you don't mind me going first. I don't mean to just, just an interesting thought I have. Sorry, Lars. But I would say it depends on what your expectations and intent is with each release and format, because Sleeping State says one of those might be a film. But I would say if you're intending to promote each release, even if they're different formats and different content types and all that type of stuff. And I don't mean content like, I'm creating content for social media, but like just actual format differences, like a film versus a release or something. But you'd still probably do a soundtrack as it. It depends how you're going to talk about it. Are you going to discuss it on your platforms? Then it's a bit overwhelming, right? Like, hey, here's this, here's that. Like, check out this one, check out that one. It's kind of how I feel now with those like monthly releases that everyone pushed for Spotify. Like, it's one thing, like, I mean, I guess I kind of sound like a hypocrite because I did those projects where I would release like monthly, but that was in the context of a project where I said, hey, this album is being made over a year. Every month is a song, right? But even then I started feeling exhausted trying to promote it each month. And like, I would just kind of stop and do it kind of every quarter or something, because it just doesn't make sense to just be like, this is out, now this is out, now this is out. Maybe for some people it works, but it didn't seem the best method for me. But I think that's what I would say is, I agree with Thomas, there are no rules, but consider how you're going to, like, your expectations in releasing it, what you want to do with it. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to do things with it? Because if you space them out, you can do live performances of them or this and that, or, like all different types, videos, music videos, stuff like that. So that's what I would say. Lars, what do you think?
I think the internet has been both a blessing and a curse for us in this respect. Because at the one time, it's like we can promote like any of our own stuff. We don't have to go through like any kind of like gate kept channel or anything like that. But also it's like, now we're competing for everyone's attention. And you only have so much attention you can give to anything, right? Me personally, I don't like the idea of like trying to release something every month and definitely not trying to like release several things all at once in the same month, because maybe you catch some like maybe people pay attention to like one of those things, then like the other things just kind of fall to the wayside. And I don't know, for me, it seems like a great way to set yourself up for disappointment if you're going to just throw everything out there all at once,
It's also exhausting to you, right? As the creator, to be like, this is out, now this is out, and here's this, and I'm going to make this to post about it. Then I'm going to make this to post about it. It's like, it's too many things. Even like one release is too much in my brain. I'm like, oh man, hold on a sec. So yeah,
I'm getting old. Like, just life in general exhausts me at this point. So I don't have the energy to try and promote like 8 things at once. Like, man, like even like running like a little like label or whatever, it's like I'm having to like figure out how to stagger like stuff I want to release for myself, and then like stuff for the so I don't want to have to just throw myself in like 8 directions all at once. I'm already in so many directions.
Yeah, I get that. We dealt with that last year.
Yeah, you had a kid, man. Like,
well, no, that too. I meant I deal with that every day now, where I can't do anything. But no, I meant when we were releasing monthly as Audionautic, we had to figure out where do we place Curtis and Sunwarper releases, how do we promote everybody's release, and all that type of stuff. And it does seem like it's a lot. And then you wear out the audience and you wear out yourself trying to make the content, post content, whatever. So Curtis, what about you? What do you think?
I think you should, it's a good problem to have. I think first and foremost, I wonder if it's something that you shouldn't be aiming for necessarily. I mean, there is no should, there are no rules, but I can see why having multiple releases on the same day, for example, can just kind of tear you in the wrong direction. It's like the dog with 2 bones, right? If you remember the Aesop's fable, the dog who wanted the second bone went out to grab it, and suddenly no bones were had. But anyway, I digress. But the question, I suppose, is if that is going to happen, maybe it is a case of prioritization, because that is the benefit of a label, right? Like, the benefit of a label, working with a label, is that they will at least help you in part to promote your work on your behalf, right? That's what a label should be doing. That's the point of a label. So, if you've got something coming out on a label and it's coming out on the same day as you release something independent, maybe focus on the stuff that you've done for yourself first, and then come back to the label in a week or so, or in 15 days, say, hey, this also just dropped, especially with Bandcamp, where deadlines are not so much of an issue, and like hitting those plays in the first couple of weeks don't really seem to matter. It's more evergreen content in that sense. That's what I would say. It's a good way of thinking about it. But also, like you say, it's just about prioritizing your needs and where you want to get them from. It's not, there's no issue or anything like that. Definitely a good problem to have. But if it is something that encounters and it has to happen, then, you can choose at the end of the day which one you want to promote. It's in your control. Yeah.
I just want to add one thing to what you said about releasing something on your own when a label releases something of yours the same day. That can undermine the efforts of what the label is doing, exhausting like posts. And I mean, if you want to work with that label again, that might not end well. So things to consider as well, or at least talk to the label first and be like, oh, I have this other thing coming out. Because like Lars said, everyone only has a certain amount of time to listen, to absorb formats and media and this and that. And so if you are telling your fans, hey, check out this one, and you also release with the label who made a lot of effort to make content or physicals or this and that can kind of be a bit of a knock to the label. So it's something to discuss, at least I would say, with the label. But if they're both self-releases, like Thomas says, no rules, right? Just consider things like audience exhaustion, creator, like your own exhaustion and all that, and what you're doing and stuff. So I think it your mileage may vary, right? But it's what you feel comfortable doing and seeing what your audience resonates with. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. I think as well. I think Thomas, speaking of Thomas, he brings up an interesting point here about being part of community as well. Not just because being part of a community is very good. I'll bring this up. Oh, there you go. My advice to my younger self would be to focus on building personal connections and be part of a community, and focus less on promotion and content / releases, which is a fair point. Incredibly fair. not just because that's a good thing to do, and it's nice to be part of a community of like-minded people, because that is dope and that is amazing. But also, when you do potentially release subsequently or close together in terms of time, it is less chance of fatigue, right? Because different people are going to hit different points and things are going to get through, and that's a nice thing to be a part of as well. So yeah, just to add on to that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good point. I mean, I think he's spot on too. Like in the current zeitgeist or age of independent musician, I think finding community, it makes a lot more sense than being beholden to algorithms of social media. So, and content, I need to post content, churn out content. Even Spotify we could kind of consider it an algorithm with its editorial, but you have to get lucky to get placed on that, I guess. But like the way Spotify works is it was this numbers game of put out more, get people listening, all this and that. But I mean, I guess it kind of still is, but I don't know. It seems like the facade is kind of breaking, at least in my opinion. Like I think music still makes sense to release less frequently and make it something special. Instead of like, this is out. Okay, now this is out. Go listen to this now. It's that instant, quick consumption that you then forget about. Like built for playlists to be put on a playlist, then taken off a playlist, and now your next piece has to be, like that constant churn. And if you're not even getting paid for those tracks, if you don't hit 1,000 in the first month or whatever, what's the point? Ace of Stripe that's exactly what I was kind of discussing there at the end. Spotify is crushing its earnings, sadly. Yeah, I mean, and crushing the earnings we should be earning from them, right? In that way. What's up, B-Jammin? He's in the chat.
If we're gonna be about like Spotify, like they're making money now simply because like they're playing the games that record labels played back in the day.
But this is like the first year in however many years or last year was the first year they turned a profit after angel investment for years and years and years that was sustaining them. So I don't think it's going to be sustainable. And the whole next generation of musicians are probably getting fed up with putting stuff on Spotify when they've burnt their amounts. So I think it's kind of the way it goes. Anyways, I think we've talked about that enough, Coraline. Hopefully that was helpful if you watch this back. But you said it was Coraline, right? Sorry, I haven't been able to be on Discord much lately. The days have been crazy, but hopefully that helps. If you have any more thoughts or if anybody has questions about releases and things like that, let us know in the comments. With that, though, Curtis, we did not mention in our community corner the return of Discord challenges. Do you mind quickly discussing that before we bounce?
Yeah. So we took a poll last week on the show, and people voted to remix the stems for "Lingering Light," which is a single on "Through the Quiet Dark," which is Sunwarper's our EP, which is releasing next week, and that's what the lovely cassettes that Lars has made is coming over. One more time, Lars, for good measure.
Thank you, look at this. Hold up, we gotta. There we go. Yeah, that thing looks sick. I can't wait to get those tomorrow.
Gonna be amazing.
Yes.
So one of the tracks, "Lingering Light," Sunwarper is going to put the stems up over the weekend into the Discord, and we're going to have a remix challenge from that point. And in the name of a community challenge, whichever one is deemed the best will get a $10 Tom gift card. We're bringing in a sense of reward and a sense of incentive to get involved. So if that's your thing, if that's your jam, maybe it is for B-Jamming, have a look at that. Come down to the Discord. We'll put that there. We'll put the parameters for the challenge in when we do it, and we've got a good time to do it. It'll be a good place to do it in that regard.
Yeah. Last couple things. Stillhead says it's the connection with others and their feedback that makes you grow. Plus, there's much encouragement in a community. Doing everything solo, trying to please an algorithm will make you burn out. Yeah, pretty much. Ace of Stripe says, congrats, Lars. Looks amazing. Yeah, they look really good. I can't wait to get my hands on them, take some photos and stuff, start talking about it. But those are going to release on February 18th on Bandcamp. And then I think I'll put them up on my website. We've only made 10 for now, but if they sell out, then we'll make some more. I think you bought some more green cassettes, right? Mum's the word, I guess. Okay, well, I think we might be able to make more, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes. But Jammin says we'll just cover this really quickly because this is off topic. But do you guys think Roland will give us another SP404 Mark II update? I don't think they're done with that. They kept the SX for like 8 years or something. I think we'll see some more. I hope so. I did that video. I think Jammin, you saw it. I think you were in the comments. I still have to answer some comments on there, but talking about features it needs, and I think some of them are feasible. So we'll see. But yeah, maybe with the P6, they're going to focus on a Mark III soon or something. I don't know. Anyways, I think with that, Smiling Ears has a funny little joke. It's for people who want it. If you don't have a tape player, then maybe that's not for you, or collection. Are you bundling a tape player? He's always such a downer with these things. But yeah, we'll call it there. Anything you want to add, Lars, before we go?
No, nothing I can think of. Just
it seems like on the tip of your tongue there. Yeah, I better hold it back. Something about Spotify, probably.
Yeah. Buy cassette tapes. Buy a cassette player. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on Walmart. There are companies that refurbish. We covered a cassette company that has those little like new Walkmans or whatever, and they were at NAMM. I didn't get to talk to them, but they were there. We covered. They had these. I forget what they're called. I'll look it up, Lars. But they have these like little portable like cassette players now, and I think they do some cool modern things as well. But it's like a modern new one. It's pretty cool looking. I mean, I have. Hang on, just a second.
Is that a jacket on your chair? That looks like it'd be comfortable.
That is my coat.
There you go.
Yeah, like I got this off Amazon like a few months ago, and like, yeah, you can put an SD card in there. You can record. Like it records 2 tape. You can pull it off tape. There's a USB port where you can just. Oh,
that's cool. You'll have to throw that in the Discord.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's like $20. Like
that's not bad. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. They're super cheap.
Yeah. All right, Curtis. Anything else on your end before we bounce?
No, just lovely to see everyone. Lovely to hang out.
I had to crack up. You always say no. Just last week, you were like, "I always say no," and then I say it. Like he did it again.
I did it again. Yeah, it's great to see everyone. Thank you ever so much for being here. It's great to see where people are at, and in a world of chaos and instability, it's lovely to see that Mike continuously plugs Ableton.
The constants in life, yeah. The constants in life is Mike will talk drift. Why not drift?
Exactly.
Love it.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say for now.
All right. Well, with that, then we'll call it. I'm going to cue up the outro music. Which one is it? Not the intro. It's the outro. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. UTC. We hope to see you there. And if you want to help support the show, come on the show like Lars, head over to the Patreon. The Discord is open to all, and the link is in the description. And with that, we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.